secular standard and pragmatic tolerance, the millennium wisdom of Buddhism's localization and enlightenment for Protestantism's entry into China. Section E. Chinese culture as core, secular-oriented selective tolerance, 字符数 1987. The tolerance of Chinese culture has never been unbounded acceptance, but a highly selective one centered on secular imperial power, framed by the ethical system of the 3 cardinal guides and 5 constant virtues, and measured by people as livelihood needs. This trait sets the ultimate principle for foreign cultures entering China. Only by abandoning heterogeneous stubbornness, submitting to secular order and meeting practical living demands can they take root. Those deviating from folk ethics due to doctrinal exclusivism, or even touching imperial power as bottom line via political transgression, are doomed to fade into history. In ancient China as over 2000-year history of absorbing foreign cultures, Buddhism is the only religion that achieved in-depth localization, integrated into the folk mainstream and became an organic part of local culture. Its millennium of active adaptation offers a core reference for modern Protestantism as spread in China. Protestantism inherited the localization logic of abandoning exclusivism, focusing on pragmatism and serving the secular, integrating missionary work into people as livelihood through schools and charities, and finally establishing a foothold in China. The failures of Zoroastrianism, Manichaeism and Catholicism, as well as the religious contests of Ananda, Prince of Anxi, and Iltutmish in the Yuan dynasty, further confirm the secular standard screening criterion from the opposite side. Doctrinal exclusivism is the root of decline, and political transgression accelerates demise. Classic assertions by Gu Hongming, John K. Fairbank, Chen Ying and Tang Yongtong anchor this law. Gu Hongming pointed out in The Spirit of the Chinese People, the core of Chinese culture is the secular ethics constructed by the 3 cardinal guides and 5 constant virtues, which is the foundation of the Chinese people's existence and the ultimate reference for all foreign cultures entering China. As editor-in-chief of the Cambridge History of China, John K. Fairbank analyzed precisely, Chinese secular culture has a strong self-protection and screening ability. The acceptance of foreign things is always based on whether they adapt to its inherent social order and people's livelihood needs, rather than the appreciation of heterogeneous culture itself. This unique pragmatic tolerance values utility over doctrine, making it a touchstone for foreign religions in China. Section 2. Buddhism as localization, a millennium model of secular adaptation, 字符数 2109. Buddhism was introduced to China in the Han and Wei dynasties, initially denounced as abandoning rituals and violating ethics for its precept that monks shave their heads and leave the secular world, not bowing to emperors and parents, which conflicted with the 3 cardinal guides and 5 constant virtues. Yet it did not cling to the original doctrine as exclusivism, and after centuries of active adaptation, completed the transformation from Western regions' nature to Chinese learning. Chen Ying praised in second series of Jingmingguan manuscripts, the entry of Buddhism into China is not a simple spread of doctrines, but a step-by-step integration of Confucianism and Taoism, conformity to patriarchal clan system, and adaptation to people's livelihood, ultimately shedding the nature of the Western regions and becoming Chinese learning. In the Eastern Jin dynasty, Huiyuan wrote on monks not bowing to the emperor, clarifying those who believe in the Dharma at home are people who obey the secularization. Their feelings have not changed from the secular, so they have the love of blood relatives and the etiquette of serving the sovereign, and that monks, as guests outside the secular world, contribute to the royal way by propagating the Dharma, proposing the Buddhist way, and the royal way reach the same goal by different paths. In the Tang dynasty, Buddhism's localization deepened. Emperor Xuanzang's edict that monks must kowtow to their parents was gladly accepted, with filial piety internalized as a doctrinal core, and the Chan school asserting filial piety is the foundation of becoming a Buddha. Master Beizhang Huahai proposed the one who does not work shall not eat, taking farming as spiritual practice. Master Huining said in Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch, the Dharma exists in the secular world. Enlightenment cannot be separated from the secular world. The Pure Land School, with its simple six-character mantra practice, perfectly fit folk demands, making it the most widely spread Buddhist sect in China. Section 3. Protestantism as entry into China. Secular service as localization practice. 字符数2105. Buddhism as localization wisdom provided a clear reference for modern Protestantism. After the Reformation, Martin Luther's doctrine of justification by faith broke the Church as salvation monopoly and weakened doctrinal exclusivism, endowing Protestantism with an inherent foundation to adapt to China as secular standard. Missionaries such as Arthur H. Smith and John Leighton Stewart abandoned Catholicism as exclusive stance of regarding itself as the only true faith and negating the secular world, integrating missionary work into secular services through schools and charities. Arthur H. Smith set up modern schools, hospitals and disaster relief institutions in North China as rural areas, integrating the gospel into practical assistance for the underclass. John Leighton Stewart founded Yanqing University in 1919 with the motto Freedom through Truth for Service, blending Western and Chinese educational concepts and making Protestantism an important bridge for modern China to learn from the West. John K. Fairbank commented, in the United States and China, the success of Protestantism in China does not stem from the attractiveness of its doctrines themselves, but from its abandonment of religious exclusivism and becoming a force that serves the secular world and adapts to people's livelihood. The Puritan spirit, originating from John Calvin's Institutes of the Christian Religion, that the mark of the elect is to practice good deeds and work diligently in the secular world to glorify God, aligns with Buddhism as one who does not work shall not eat, and Chinese culture as applying learning to practical use. From the perspective of Buddhist doctrine, Christianity, with its emphasis on doing good deeds in the secular world, adhering to moral norms and pursuing blessed rewards in the afterlife, belongs to the human and heavenly vehicle in Buddhism as classification. It guides people to uphold good conduct and accumulate merits in the mortal world, which is in line with the basic moral precepts of Buddhism. Yet it does not touch the core of Buddhist practice of transcending the mortal realm and achieving enlightenment. This positioning from the Buddhist perspective further explains the compatibility between Christianity as secular practice and Chinese folk moral demands, as well as the essential difference between the two religions in their ultimate spiritual pursuit. Though the 1900 anti-foreign incident by Yusheng was a concentrated outbreak of ethnic and foreign interest conflicts, Protestantism as adherence to serving the secular and not challenging imperial power allowed it to quickly resume spread after the Boxer Uprising, proving the success of its localization. Section 4. Sino-Western Religious Conflicts, Essential Differences in Nature, 字符数 1956. The spread trajectories of religions at home and abroad lead to distinct outcomes, with the contrast between the Huguenot massacre and the Buddhist persecutions under the Three Wus and Wanzhong being particularly striking. Western religious conflicts stem from sectarian killings caused by doctrinal exclusivism, the 1572 St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre, where Catholics bloodily slaughtered Huguenots, originated from Christianity's exclusive doctrine of believing in God alone and rejecting paganism, which places religious belief above secular ethics and blood kinship. In sharp contrast, China's Buddhist persecutions under the Three Wus and Wanzhong, Emperor Taiwu of Northern Wei, Emperor Wu of Northern Zhou, Emperor Wuzong of Tang, Emperor Shizong of later Zhou, had nothing to do with religious doctrines, but were all practical economic and political considerations of the secular regime. Book of Wei Treatise on Buddhism and Taoism records Emperor Taiwu persecuted Buddhism because a large number of monks seized people's property and hinder agriculture and government. Old Book of Tang biography of Emperor Wuzong notes Emperor Wuzong's persecution due to 260, 500 monks and nuns all supported by the state, leading to a serious shortage of financial resources. These four persecutions only cracked down on the temple economy and imposed secular control, never banning Buddhism itself. This exactly confirms Chinese culture as tolerance. Bottom line, a religion can survive as long as it does not challenge the core interest of the secular regime. The essence of Chinese religious conflicts is secular economic and political contradictions, not doctrinal disputes. A fundamental difference from the sectarian exclusivism-driven conflicts in the West. Section 5. Lessons from Failure, Exclusivism as Root, Transgression as Consequence, 字符数 2089. The religious contests of Ananda, Prince of Anxi, and Iltutmish in the Yuan dynasty confirm the decline logic of doctrinal exclusivism as the root cause and political transgression as the trigger from within the regime. Ananda converted to Islam in childhood and adhered to religious exclusivism. Deviating from the Yuan's tolerance for all religions, he forcibly implemented Islamic law in his northwest fief, forcing Mongolian clans and Han people to convert, breaking the multi-ethnic religious tolerance pattern and triggering widespread resistance. His attempt to covet the throne via religious power was a political transgression derived from exclusivism, leading to his eventual death and the abolition of his fief. Iltutmish, a Yuan powerful minister, also took religious exclusivism as his starting point. He formed cliques via Tibetan Buddhism, excluded other sects, divided political camps by religious identity and tried to place religious power above imperial power. This exclusive religion-based political transgression touched the secular imperial power as bottom line, resulting in his downfall. Their fates echo the failures of Manichaeism and the White Lotus sect. Manichaeism's mixed yet exclusive doctrines left it unable to integrate into the mainstream, and its coming of the Bright King slogan led to imperial power transgression and a ban. The White Lotus sect abandoned the Pure Land school as inclusiveness, formed exclusive cliques and launched repeated religious rebellions, becoming a target of successive regime crackdowns. Duanxiu's Yunnan Muslim uprising in the Qing dynasty, though rooted in ethnic oppression, failed because some sects adhered to exclusivism and established a state in the name of religion to challenge the Qing court. This made Islam vigilanted by the regime due to its exclusivism and partial transgression, and coupled with the differences between its rules and the Central Plains patriarchal system, it never became the mainstream folk religion in the Central Plains. Section 6. Doctrinal Exclusivism, the Fatal Flaw of Failed Foreign Religions, 字符数 1967. Zoroastrianism and Ming to early Qing Catholicism both declined due to rigid cultural exclusivism, never integrating into Chinese society despite no obvious political transgression. Zoroastrianism spread for a time in the 16 Kingdoms period under later Zhao, but it clung to supreme god worship and Hu people as rituals, never integrating with Confucianism and Taoism, nor conforming to the 3 cardinal guides and 5 constant virtues. It had no practical value for the Central Plains people and declined rapidly after the fall of the Hu regime. Catholic missionary Matteo Ricci changed into Confucian clothes and spread Western science to gain a little recognition, but he always insisted on believing in God alone and denying ancestor worship and Confucius worship, directly conflicting with China's core secular ethics. Even though Johann Adam Shaw von Bell and Ferdinand Verbiest were valued by the Qing court for their astronomical and manufacturing expertise, Emperor Kangxi stated bluntly, Catholicism regards God as the only one. Abandoning heaven, sovereign, parents and teacher, it is a doctrine without loyalty and filial piety, and must not be tolerated. The Roman Catholic Church's rights controversy eventually led the Qing court to issue a ban on Catholicism, which never entered the Chinese folk mainstream. These cases all prove that doctrinal exclusivism is the fatal flaw for foreign religions to gain a foothold in China. Any religion that refuses to adapt to China's secular ethics and cultural traditions, and clings to absolute exclusivism, will inevitably be alienated and rejected by society. Section 7. Core Truth and Eternal Enlightenment of Cultural Integration, 字符数 2012. From Buddhism as millennium localization to Protestantism as secular adaptation in China, from the Sino-Western religious conflict differences to the lessons of Ananda and Iltutmish, the spread of all religions at home and abroad points to a core truth. The ultimate code for foreign cultures to integrate into heterogeneous soil is never to force the secular world to adapt to religion, but to make religion submit to the secular world. Chen Ying said in review of the second volume of Fang Yulan's History of Chinese Philosophy, the culture of the Chinese nation has evolved for thousands of years and reached its peak in the Song dynasty. The reason why it has been able to continue is that it can be inclusive while adhering to its own foundation. This inclusiveness is for non-exclusive, secular adaptive foreign cultures. This adhering to foundation is the cultural subjectivity centered on secular imperial power, based on the 3 cardinal guides and 5 constant virtues. John K. Fairbank added in the Cambridge History of China, Chinese society's strong resilience stems from its secular cultural core. It reshapes foreigners with its own order. The exclusive will be alienated, and the transgressive will be liquidated. Tang Yongtang's comment on Buddhism as localization, that entering China and being Sinicized, not Sinicizing China, captures the core of foreign cultural integration only by taking the initiative to integrate into the local secular order, rather than forcing the local to be changed by religion, can one truly take root. As the only successful model of ancient Chinese foreign cultural absorption, Buddhism as millennium wisdom not only demonstrates Chinese culture as tolerance and resilience, but also offers eternal enlightenment for cross-cultural communication, abandoning heterogeneous stubbornness and doctrinal exclusivism, adapting to local secular needs and submitting to the core order. This is the only way for foreign cultures to grow into an organic part of local culture, not a permanent outsider. In today's globalization, this enlightenment has become the core criterion for the exchange and integration of different civilizations. Gu Hongmin's description of the Chinese people as gentle secular spirit, which keeps rational in faith and adheres to fundamentals in tolerance, is the best interpretation of Chinese culture as tolerance. Only by respecting the local cultural foundation, adapting to the secular world and abandoning exclusivism can different civilizations cross cultural barriers and achieve true inclusive coexistence.